2019 NFL Draft. Best known for, well, not having a lot of quarterback talent. The Raiders having 3 picks in the first round because of the Khalil Mack trade. And of course, a lot of receivers not getting drafted highly. That kind of should have got drafted highly was crack-a-lacking. It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know so. And we're going to be taking a look at the 2019 NFL Draft. I'm going to go ahead and give you my grades that I gave at the time. So literally following the draft, I watched all those videos. Was like, oh, that's crazy. I thought this about so-and-so's draft class. And we're going to go ahead and regrade it today. No pluses, no minuses. I don't deal with that nonsense. Let's keep it simple. A, B, C, and D with the occasional F. And actually, you're going to see quite a few Fs in this video. Quite a few. So let's go ahead and do the dang thing and talk about it, because these videos actually take quite a little bit of long, because I get to talking about it and it's just fun. I feel like now that we're seeing guys move on to different teams, I'll be talking about it a little bit less, because we're starting to look at these guys and just kind of like, okay, they had their 4 years and maybe they went signed elsewhere. Maybe how did those players do during those 4 years? Like, I don't know. The grading's getting a bit tricky, but as always, when it comes to these draft grades, I'm only taking into account the players they drafted with the picks that they had. I'm not going to take into account some of the trades, though. I'll probably mention some of the trades that went down because there were a few big ones. And yeah, I'm not looking at UDFAs. We're talking about the draft class, not their UDFA class. So let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. And I mentioned UDFAs because you got to mention Jalen Thompson because, well, he was actually taken in the supplemental draft. So not even in this draft, technically, but he is from this, I guess, quote unquote draft class, and probably their best pick outside of Kyler Murray, which, hey, you got your franchise quarterback. At the time, I gave this an A because, hey, you found your franchise quarterback. They surrounded him with weapons and Andy Isabella and Hakeem Butler, which we will later, well, find out that that didn't work out so much. They attacked positions of value. Edge with Zach Allen, who still on the roster, solid contributor, starts, not bad. And Byron Murphy, who just, he still plays a lot in the slot, but this year he played a bit more on the outside. So he's a bit versatile in that regard. But looking back now, I'm going to give this class actually a B just because, hey, you got your franchise quarterback. That's great. Hopefully your franchise quarterback, they're going to have to pay him because he is demanding payment. But outside of that, not a whole lot going on. Yes, Byron Murphy, that's solid enough. Is he a slot? Is he outside? I don't know. I think he played well in both roles, but after that, they didn't really hit on much. Andy Isabella, like I said, I feel like never utilized this cat well. Just never did. Hakeem Butler, I'm pretty sure he may have made the roster year 1, but I know he was off the team fairly shortly. Talked about Zach Allen being a solid pick. Deontay Thompson, he actually saw a little bit of playing time, but for the most part, he was a depth piece. Keyshawn Johnson, another guy I don't think is on the roster anymore. Then again, I mean, you look at their day 3 picks, and yeah, you don't really grade those harshly. You really just look at the first 4 rounds, what they did with that, and did they hit on some guys maybe mid to late day 3. So at the end of the day, giving them a B. So yeah, like I said, I feel like I was going through this and I was like, man, I'm being a bit more strict than I normally am. And that's because we've seen kind of the fruits of this draft class. By the way, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. And the popular thing now to do on YouTube, if you really support the channel, is to share the video. So go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead, get back to the nitty gritty. On to the Atlanta Falcons. And at the time, I gave this one a B-. They really addressed the offensive line. Didn't have too many picks after that. Their next pick after picking at 31 was in the 4th round. But I'm going to now, looking at this class, give it a big fat F. Like I said, I'm going to be grading these a lot more harsh. Chris Lindstrom is easily their only hit in this class. A guy who had some injury problems, I think, his rookie season, but it looks like he's at least an average starter on that offensive line, average to above average. Caleb McGarry has just been not good for the team. Kendall Sheffield, I'm pretty sure they released him this past season, but he wasn't all that in a bag of chips. John Kaminsky, I actually really liked him after his rookie season, but he just hasn't seen a lot of playing time. Just not a lot to talk about in this draft class. Like they came out with one starter, and that's it. You can't even say good depth. You just can't say it. On to the Baltimore Ravens, the Hollywood Brown pick. I believe he was the first wide receiver taken off the board. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was. But at the time, gave this class a B, and I'm doling out the big old Fs. Listen, I love that Baltimore, essentially they pick him at 25 and then they trade him away along with a third rounder, but to be fair, it was like pick 100 to get the 23rd overall pick in this past draft. Like, that's great. That's solid. But what do they get out of that? Like, Ben Powers is like a replacement level starter, good depth. Justice Hill can't stay healthy. Jalen Ferguson doesn't see the field a ton, doesn't even have a big rotation role. They just didn't hit on anything in this class. Like, this class just wasn't good for the squad. So went ahead and graded appropriately. Like, even look at like Eamon Marshall, nothing. Miles Boykin, not even on the roster anymore. So yeah, they really got nothing. They tried to get Boykin to contribute early. Just didn't work out. On to the Buffalo Bills. At the time, I gave it a B, and looking back now, I'm giving it a nice C. Like, Ed Oliver, great pick. He has emerged as one of the better pass rushing, I would say, interior players in the NFL, and his game's becoming more complete as he's becoming a bit more sturdy as a run defender. Cody Ford, I really liked Cody Ford. I actually had a first-round grade on him as an interior player. And, obviously, big miss. Devin Singletary, it's great because technically he's the lead back there in Buffalo, but he's a running back. It's not a high-value position. Outside of that, they hit on a whole lot of nothing, but did they get Dawson Knox in this class? Was he a UDFA? I thought they got Dawson Knox in this class. There ain't no way. Dawson Knox. Was he really a UDFA? No, he was third round pick. Huh. That's weird they're not listing him. Yeah, the Bills definitely took him at 96 overall. Well, shoot. That do be interesting that they don't have him listed. Because I was like, man, C doesn't make sense. They really just got one starter and a committee running back. But yeah, no, Dawson Knox actually makes this class a lot better. I'm glad I have notes here to help keep me in line. So yeah, it's getting a C. Dawson Knox is great, dude. I think the guy's really starting to emerge. All right, on to the Carolina Panthers. At the time, I gave it a B, and you could take a quick look. After Brian Burns, this class is nothing. I gave it a D. Brian Burns, man, he needs to take that next step. Like, he has been the same guy his rookie year where it was like, oh, there's so much promise, but he needs to take the next step. He's starting to get eclipsed by other pass rushers in this class that have just come out and started to become dominant. He needs to take that next step. But still, overall, really great pickup. Greg Little didn't last long. On the Panthers, actually had a little stay in Miami. I'm a Dolphins fan, by the way. Will Greer, I actually really liked him in the third round. Obviously, not that great. Christian Miller, I think he battled injury early in his career. But yeah, Dennis Daly, he's still with the squad, but he's depth. If that guy started, then you're not in a good place. So, yeah, I'm going to give it a nice D. Not a lot of positive to talk about early on. And we got the Bears coming up. It ain't staying positive. Let's go ahead. Just dish out the grade. I gave it a B at the time because I really liked David Montgomery. I think he was my running back 1 in this class. And going back, looking at it, hey, let's give it the F. Because David Montgomery is the only thing they hit on. This was the Khalil Mack trade. This is why we don't see a first or second round pick here. And like, yeah, that's all well and dandy, but like, what did Khalil Mack really do to come like help this roster win? This team was struggling because Mitch Trubisky just won't it. They just didn't do a good job of surrounding him with talent. Duke Shelley's he's gonna be a journeyman throughout like his whole career. That's what he is. But he's always gonna find a place on a roster, man. That guy's actually low key not too bad. Riley Ridley, wasn't he the cat that got in a scuffle with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, or was that Wims? Was it Javon Wim? Something like that. All right, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Riley Ridley. Yeah, I'm thinking of someone else. Yeah, no, it's Wims. I knew it was a Bears receiver, just couldn't remember who. Well, neither did work out, so it's kind of irrelevant. These were really the 2 picks kind of want to harp on, but didn't really hit on anything after really Montgomery. And even then, it just goes to show you their 6th round running back, Khalil Herbert. There's a good chance Montgomery doesn't come back after his rookie deal, because Herbert looked good when he filled in for Montgomery. It's just why you don't invest in running backs early, especially if it's your first pick. Cincinnati Bengals, at the time, I gave this a B+, and now we're here, and I'm probably going to give it a C. Jonah Williams, that's awesome. Drew Sample, honestly, was a reach at the time. I didn't love it, but he is proven to be good depth. Is he still worth that second rounder? I don't think so, but at least they're getting their money's worth, I suppose. Still, they bring in Hayden Hurst this year because they're that confident in Drew Sample supplementing CJ Uzomah. Jermaine Pratt, he has been a starter almost since day 1. So those are probably the most notable, and then just nothing good after it. They didn't hit on any of their 4th round picks. Ryan Finley, you would think he was going to be probably a high, you were hoping him to be a high-end backup. It didn't really turn out that way. Wren didn't see much of the field. Michael Jordan was a catastrophe. One of my favorite picks was their 6th rounder, Rodney Anderson. But injuries literally killed that guy's career. Really, really made me sad. But overall, going to give it a C. On the way to the Cleveland Browns, at the time, I gave the Browns a nice and B. Let's take a look at this class. What do you think? I've been so strict. I'm giving out Fs, man. I'm doling out Ls here. Greedy Williams. They just won't have this guy get a shot. By the way, if you're wondering where's their 1st rounder, OBJ. They got OBJ out of that. And we saw how much Baker Mayfield took advantage of that. Whoa, come on, guys. It's funny. It's funny. Haha, hee hee. But Taki, not a lottie. Actually, I will say Red Wine was decent special teams help early on, but that was it. Mac Wilson couldn't really stay healthy, but I wasn't that high on him anyway. So they end up trading him for Chase Winovich. So there is that. I mean, even with red wine, it's like, listen, you spent a 4th rounder on a guy who ended up being just a special teamer. They grabbed a kicker in the 5th, and I'm just gonna say he ain't no Evan McPherson because dude ain't on the roster anymore. Just not a great draft, man. Like Forbes actually, he was on the team for quite a bit as some depth, but yeah, even now, like we're looking back, Greedy Williams, like a guy that just I don't think he was injured his rookie year. And then he just hasn't seen the field a ton. They brought in Greg Newsome. They just extended Denzel Ward, and this year they brought in Martin Emerson. So it's like, okay, what is Greedy Williams' place on this roster? So giving it an F, man. Just gonna do it. Dallas Cowboys, another team without our 1st round pick because they used it to acquire Amari Cooper. Wow, there we go. But looking at the rest of this class, man, it just wasn't good. It just wasn't. And I gave it a C+ at the time. I don't think I was far off. I'm giving it a D now. There is no notable picks. Like Tony Pollard is the exact reason why you don't give Zeke a big contract, and then they proceed to give Zeke a big contract. Like you could get good running back play and depth day 3 of the NFL draft, and here you are dishing out money on a position of very low value. Connor McGovern's been a pretty solid depth player, but you would kind of expect him to be a starter using a day 2 pick on him. Donovan Wilson, a guy that I don't get why he doesn't see the field more often now. Cause they bring in a lot of safety help, but like I always thought he was one of their better box guys. So that's always been unusual to me. Tristan Hill, straight up, dude's a bust. Like it was just a bad pick. It was a reach at the time, and it's a reach now. But yeah, they didn't really see too much from this draft. But you can say at least Hill, McGovern, Pollard, Wilson, at least those guys saw some playing time. So yeah, like I said, man, I'm not doling out good grades, especially as we get to the Denver Broncos, who at the time I gave an A-. And still, there's actually a lot to like about this draft. Because I'm right now thinking, should I move them up a letter grade? Because Noah Fant, dude was solid. He was starting to emerge as a very good tight end, and he gets used in the Russell Wilson trade. Dalton Reiser's been a solid starter for him. Drew Lock, you rolled the dice and it just didn't work out. It is what it is. But all right, I appreciate the roll of the dice. Draymond Jones has, like, low key, man, this cat is good. He's one of the better pass rushing interior players in the NFL. Dude is good. Really thinking, should I move this up? I think I'm gonna stick with the grade that I gave it, and I'm gonna give him a C. Like Fant technically would be like, okay, technically they're getting like 3 starters. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm hovering. Let's just call it a B-. Let's call it a B-. Because to be fair, Noah Fant does get used to acquire their franchise quarterback for the next few seasons. And Russell Wilson, Reisner has been a starter at left guard for what feels like his whole contract, his whole rookie year. And Draymond Jones is pretty darn good. So we'll stick with, or you let me know, B or C. That one was probably one of the toughest grades I had here. And then we're going to the Detroit Lions. It was during this time in the Lions regime where they did not believe in positional value, and they went tight end in the top 10. They went linebacker, one that I didn't even have in my top 100 at the time. And then safety, and then they've started hitting positions of value. I gave it a B- at the time, and it's not getting that. I'm giving it the D. TJ Hawkinson, easily probably their best pick in this class. Like, he's emerging, and he's like a legit weapon. He's been emerging the last couple of years, and he's easily a top 10 tight end in the league. But still, that feels rich in the top 10. Jelani just wasn't it ever. Will Harris still on the roster, And they keep moving him around because, listen, it's like, man, you got to be good at something. You're good at the corner, good in slot, or you're good at safety. You got to be good at something. They're still trying to figure it out. Just hasn't worked out yet. Likely won't. Austin Bryant's depth at this point in his career. Amani Oriwari was one of my favorite picks in this class. And legit, like, he has shined in times when called upon. Will he be the quarterback 2? Quarterback 1? We'll find out. But I think at the very least, like, they got some solid depth there. Travis Fulgham, actually emerges for other teams because he doesn't make the roster. Ty Johnson had a little bit of success. So it's like, yeah, they got a starter out of it. Maybe 2 starters, potentially. But even then, I think Arawari, like, his ceiling is like a cornerback 2 in the NFL. To be fair, he was a 5th rounder. So I feel like I'm kind of talking myself into a C here. I'm going to stick with D, but that one's a bit interesting. All right, let's talk about positives. So I gave the Green Bay Packers class a B, and now I'm giving it an A. Rashawn Gary, I thought was a bit of a reach because he was a bit raw, but now he's probably emerged as potentially, you could arguably say, the best, maybe second best pass rusher in this class if he continues to improve. Like, the dude's pretty darn good. Darnell Savage was my top safety in this class. He's been good. And straight up, Elgin Jenkins, probably their best pick. This guy's so versatile across the offensive line. It's such a good. They hit it out the park with their first 3 picks. Jay Sternberger, he suffered from, I'm not sure if it was depression, anxiety, something that really hindered his career. Really the only other guy, like Ty Summers, technically, dude's still on the roster. He's stepped. That's kind of dope for getting that in the 7th round. Kingsley Kiki ain't with the roster anymore. But overall, I really liked this class. This is actually probably one of the better, if not best, class of 2019. On to the Houston Texans. Oh, man. This class is not good. There's some Titus Howard truthers out there. Listen, he may be starting at right tackle. He's like an average starter. I mean, can he become an above average? Will he? I'm not even positive this guy makes it to, like, I think he might be done after this season. They're not going to throw a fifth year option on him. At least I wouldn't. But what did I give it at the time? I gave it a B. Let's give it the D. Yeah, I gave it the D. But so Howard's still a bit of a question mark, but at least he's starting. Lonnie Johnson, a guy that they've played, like, he started corner early, moved him to safety with Justin Reed, and actually was doing pretty stellar. And then they move him back to corner. So it's like, it's probably going to end up being a miss. Max Sharpen is a miss. Dude's depth at best at this point. Khalil Warren, he couldn't stay healthy. Really the only other hit they have in this class is Charles Omenihu, who they end up trading for a 2023 6th-round pick. So they don't even get good value back on Omenihu, who was actually one of their better players in this class. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give it the D. On to the Indianapolis Colts, and the Colts are like, we're typically like, the Colts draft well each and every year. This year, in 2019, they got players. I'll say that. I give it a C+ at the time. I'm going to stick with that grade. Rocky Sin obviously gets traded for Yannick Ngakoue. Rocky Sin was very encouraging early on, and he just never took that next step. Ben Banogu was just a terrible pick. Paris Campbell can't stay healthy. Bobby Okereke, he's a starter. He's one of their better picks. Kyrie Willis, he's a starter, one of their better picks. I think he gets passed up by my boy Nick Cross this year, though. But still, Willis is a good pick. Marvell Teal, ever since he opted out of 2020, where I thought he was going to contest for that cornerback 2 spot, he just feels lost in the shuffle. EJ Speed's actually a really good special teamer. So, like, there's stuff to talk about with this class. There really is. It's just the starters they got out of it aren't at a high, like, they aren't positions of value. They're just not. And then they may have depth. Maybe we see Campbell this year. Tell, like, I'm still encouraged by Tell. But will you be able to crack the starting lineup? Will he be able to see playing time? And then Benegu was just a big miss. So we're going to give it the C. On to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This class was bad. I gave it a B. I'm giving it a D now. Like, Josh Allen legit's the only player that's maybe going to see a second contract from the Jags. Maybe. Josh Allen's another guy that needs to come out and show why he was a top 10 pick. Jawan Taylor, he may be starting on the right tackle, but the guy had a sophomore slump after being very good down the stretch for his rookie season, and he's just kind of been blah since. Josh Oliver was another guy that struggled with injuries. I think he's at Baltimore now. Quincy Williams ends up going to the Jets, but still he wasn't that great when in Jacksonville. Armstead couldn't get a hold of the starting job when they had injuries there at running back. I think he dealt with injuries as well. Gardner Minshew ended up being a banger pick. And they ended up trading him for a 6th round pick. So it's like, straight up, this is drafting quarterbacks. To me, it's always a good answer because typically their value doesn't depreciate like it does other positions, and you could get similar value from them. Just saying. I mean, look what Sam Darnold got. Oh man, Carolina's kicking themselves in the butt for that. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. But yeah, I'm hoping Josh Allen takes that next step. I really, really like Josh Allen. All right, the Kansas City Chiefs. At the time, I gave this class a B-, and a B sounds good. I'm going to stick with a B. Mecole Hardman, I think he kind of emerged more as a starter last season, being used quite a bit on the outside and in the slot, but kind of like, I don't want to say proving he's more than just a slot guy, but we'll see more of him on the outside this season, and like he almost eclipsed 1,000 yards last year, so yeah, not bad for a second rounder. Juan Thornhill, well, it was a banger pick, man. He's one of my favorite safeties in this class. I did like the upside of Saunders. I don't mind them taking a shot on him, just never worked out. Rashad Fenton ended up being pretty good. He's actually going to probably be the starter this year on the outside with Snead. Depending on what they want to do with Trent McDuffie, like they have a very versatile cornerback group there. Nick Algretti was depth there for a long time. I'm not positive he's still on the roster. I guess we could check that. Nick, I'm pretty sure he's elsewhere, right? No, he's still with them. I'm thinking of Austin Wythe, something like that, or Wiley. I can't remember, but no, he's still on the roster. So that ain't good. That's good. Pretty good class. They didn't have a first rounder. I think it was because of the Patrick Mahomes trade? Because it was not it wasn't the class prior, but the 2017 class, and they gave up like 3 first rounders, right? Not positive. Don't quote me. All right, on to the Las Vegas Raiders. I really hated this class at the time. I gave it a C. Thought it was very middling. There were some players I did like and some that I didn't. Looking back now, this is gonna be weird, but I'm giving it a B. I mean, yeah, like straight up, their whole first round, hot dookie garbage. I don't care how you feel about Josh Jacobs. They never used him to his full potential. And it's not like he's emerged as like a top 10, top 15 running back in the league consistently. He just hasn't. And he's probably their best pick in the first round. Cleveland Farrell at this point has been depth at best. Abram has been terrible. He was better last year when they played him more in a box role, but still, the first round, bunch of swings and a bunch of misses. Trayvon Mullen, he's a tough evaluation just because he can't stay healthy. From the little that we saw last year before he got hurt, it was a bit encouraging. Max Crosby, easily a beast, a monster, if you will. Foster Moreau has been a solid tight end too. And then, dude, Hunter Renfrow, he's been lighting it up from the slot. He's one of the better slot receivers in this class. They got him in the 5th round. So overall, man, like, not bad. Like, Isaiah Johnson doesn't stay on the roster long. I believe. I always got to confirm this. Yeah, I thought so. He's not with them anymore. But yeah, and I bring him up only because I really do look at the first 4 rounds and then see what they do in like mid to late day 3. See if they have any noteworthy picks. But overall, I think this class is good. They just kind of bundled like the first, you could arguably say, day 1 and day 2. They bundled it. They bungled it. All right, on to the Los Angeles Chargers. At the time, I really I didn't mind this class. I gave it a B-. I think I really liked their first 2 picks. Yeah, I'll say it. I liked Jerry Tillery at the time. I was pretty high on him. I really loved Nazir Adderley. I loved this cat's movement skills. And you know what? He's starting to show out. Last year, he had a really darn good year. But outside of that, I didn't really like much of the class. So I'm actually, again, gave it a B- at the time, giving it a D now. Jerry Tillery, obviously, never works out. Adderley, hey, man, he looked good this past season. Trey Pipkins, you know what? At least he ain't Storm Norton. I'll just say that. He didn't look terrible when called upon last year. I'll say that. He did not look terrible when called upon. True Tranquil, he's good linebacker depth, but really has just been a special teamer, and then there's really nothing of note to speak about. So, like, yeah, really, Nazir Adderley, their only hit, probably could give this an F, but I'm going to stick with the D. All right, the Los Angeles Rams. This was actually a pretty darn good class. I really liked it. I gave it a B+ at the time, and for not having a first rounder, I thought they did a pretty good job. I'm going to stick with the B. Taylor Rapp's been a solid, like, safety 3 there. They like to use a lot of 3 safety sets. Darnell Henderson, again, dude's been a quality running back 2, running back 3 in some instances. So, that's not a great pick, but this is why you draft running back day 3, man. Unless they're extraordinary. But I don't mind taking shots. David Long, he's fighting for that cornerback 2 spot. I'll just say that. But take a look at, really, this is where I was like, wow, this class was kind of solid. Bobby Evans, I believe he's going to start this year. And he played a good chunk of the last couple of years. I'm checking if, oh yeah, it's all the way at the top. Okay, he's not going to start this year probably, but the dude's going to be good depth nonetheless. Great gains. Has really carved out a role as the nose tackle there, so that's pretty solid. It's David Edwards who's going to start. He's been pretty good. Nick Scott came in for injury this year. Oh, whoops. I went to his roster page. Nick Scott, straight up, ended up getting the start this year because of injuries to Terrell Burgess and such. And not half bad. Not half bad. He's probably going to be a starter again this year. So, legit 7th rounder, and they found a starter. Pause. Solid. This was a good class. All right, on to my Miami Dolphins. Listen, I'm a Dolphins fan, but I'm also unbiased. I try to be unbiased. I will always let you know what I like and what I don't like, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I'm not going to try to lean one way or the other on it. I gave them a B- at the time, and just like the capital of the Dolphins, I'm going to give it a D. I'm going to give it the D. Christian Wilkins. Yeah, he's been solid. Not a high value, or not a position of high value. Michael Dieter might be the center this year. Maybe. Really, the best pick here is probably Andrew Van Ginkel, who's actually been pretty solid, kind of as this rotation role. He's shown a lot of flexibility to be used in coverage and as a pass rusher. Probably the best pick there. Myles Gaskin, he might get lost in this running back rotation, but when called upon, he has actually been fairly solid. But overall, really nothing to talk about. Like, they got they got Wilkins, they got Dieter, they got Van Ginkel, and they got Gaskin. That's about it. They don't have a second rounder because they rolled the dice and traded for Rosen. Didn't work out. Dolphins were thirsty for a quarterback. What can I say? They were thirsty boys. Because they're also aquatic animals. That is good Red Bull. You would think they'd sponsor me. That would also imply they watch my videos. The Minnesota Vikings. I gave this class a B at the time, and now upon further review and reflection, I'm giving it a C. Garrett Bradbury, ugh. At best, he's like a middling starter at center. Irv Smith Jr., they really like. We're going to probably see him in his biggest role this season. And Alexander Madison, he's been a solid running back too. Drew Samia, he's not with the team anymore, but he did see a lot of starts throughout his career there at Minnesota. Let's see what else we got going on. Amar Watts, he's good depth. Marcus Epps ends up being on the Eagles. Chris Boyd's still on the roster. Special teamer, depth at corner. BC Johnson, probably... I would say Watts is probably their most notable player from day 3. But you can make a case, BC Johnson. He's a wide receiver 4. That's what he should be. He's a wide receiver 4. But still, there's some value in that, and you got that in the 7th round. That's not bad. Fairly average class where they got a few starters here and there, but a ton of depth. On to the New England Patriots. I gave it a B at the time, and now that I've outed myself as the Dolphins fan that I am, I'm going to do what I love to do, and I'm going to give them a big fat F. N'Keal Harry ends up being a terrible pick. Sorry, not sorry. Joejuan Williams just kind of gets lost in the shuffle, and he's really depth at this point. That's about it. Chase Winovich, that was my favorite pick, and he ends up in the doghouse. After a promising rookie season, gets traded for Mack Wilson. Damon Harris, probably their best of their day 1 and day 2 picks, because he's the actual starter. And then they just... They take this is New England. They take shots on offensive line talent to develop, and it just doesn't work out a lot of the time. Like, that's what they do. They take shots, and it doesn't always work. They missed on West Virginia cat. Froholt, I really liked. Just didn't work out. Jarrett Stidham, couldn't even stick it as a backup. Like, probably easily their best day 3 pick was Jack Bailey, who's still their starter there at punter. So, yeah, not a good class. It's just not a good class. You look back and you're like, yeah, we got a punter and a running back out of it. It's bad class. At me. On to the New Orleans Saints. I actually liked this class a ton. I think I gave it a B at the time. They didn't have a lot of picks to work with. Obviously, they only had 2 picks in the first 4 rounds. But to be fair, those are 2 hella good picks. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's been their starter in the slot almost his whole time there. And Eric McCoy is probably one of the better interior players in the league. So I'm going to stick with the grade B. You might be like, what? They hit on their 2 picks that they had. But yeah, but they're not high value picks, you know. It's we're talking center, we're talking slot. They're just not high value picks. I think a B is still a good grade. The New York Giants. Oh, Daniel Jones. Suffering succotash. I gave this one a C at the time. And listen, until the verdict's out on Daniel Jones, which he's got one more season, we'll find out. We'll find out. Till the verdict's out, I can't really give this a terrible grade. I'm going to give it a C. Like Dexter Lawrence, he has been very solid. I didn't think he was going to be a 3-down player coming out of the draft, and he's proven otherwise. DeAndre Baker, obviously a terrible pick because the dude's an idiot. O'Shane Himes, he's depth at this point. Julian Love has actually been a very intrinsic part of that safety slot rotation. Ryan Conley actually had some had moments before he moved on. They ended up releasing him. Darius Slayton's kind of lost in the shuffle there, receiver currently. But like they got some guys, I'll say that. They got some guys like even Corey Ballantyne, there we go, saw some significant action because they were terrible at the corner position. But Slayton, Love, Himes, Lawrence, and then Jones. To be fair, hey, it's a position of value. Listen, if Jones doesn't end up working out, yeah, this grade drops. But I'm not going to drop it just yet. On to the New York Jets. I gave it an A- at the time because I really I know I really liked guys like Chuma Edoga, Blake Cashman, Blessing Austin. But yeah, looking back now, it's like, wow, they got Quinnen Williams and that's it. So I'm going to give it a D. They got Quinnen Williams. That's great. He's very good. Ja'Kai Polite, I don't even think he ends up playing it down, right? He doesn't even make it to the season. The guy kind of like ate himself out of the league. He had some red flags. Chuma Edoga still on the roster. He's a depth guy though at best. This cat, where in the world is Waldo? Yeah, he's not there. Blake Cashman ends up moving on because dude, injuries have really crushed that guy's career. I thought there was a bit of promise there. I really liked him as this athletic, speedy linebacker. Blessing Austin actually played pretty solid early on because the Jets did not have a lot of talent there at corner. And I want to say, where are you now? Are you with like the Steelers? The Broncos. That's where he is at, the Broncos. So yeah, I'm going to just give it a D. It is what it is. On to the Philadelphia Eagles. I gave this class a B+ at the time. And you know what? I'm doling out the D's. Andre Dillard. Verdict's still out. He's not even a starter. He got passed by Jordan Mailata. Lane Johnson's still there. Not even a starter. Miles Sanders. Arguably, probably not going to get brought back on a second contract. He's just been real banged up. JJ Arthur-Whiteside. Eagles fans don't like to talk about that one. I don't blame you. I actually really liked Arthur-Whiteside coming in. And then Sharif Miller actually saw a little bit of, not starting time, but playing time. He was a part of the rotation early on. Don't think he's with the squad anymore, though. Let's see. Yeah, no, he's with the Saints. Okay. But yeah, no, I mean, we don't even know if you got a starter here. Like, I guess technically Miles Sanders, but again, we're talking about a position of not great value. All right, on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. At the time I gave this draft class a B. I really loved the Deontay Johnson pick. There were early signs saying Justin Lane would have been good, but now at this point he's just kind of depth. But I'm going to give it a C for now. Devin Bush, he's still there. They didn't put the fifth-year option on him, but he's still there. He's still going to be a starter. Deontay Johnson, easily the best pick in this class. Justin Lane, again, depth. Benny Snell has had moments, but they got Najee there, so like his role is like done. It's gone. Outside of that, maybe Isaiah Buggs was another guy maybe you could note that's he provides depth on that defensive interior. Gilbert actually, he played a lot as a rotation guy and special teamer, but yeah, overall I'm giving it a C. onto the San Francisco 49ers. Just take a look at the first 2 picks. Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel. I gave it an A at the time. I'm giving it an A now. They hit on those 2 picks. Edge, wide receiver. Those guys are easily top 10. I would say top 10 in those categories. They still have their punter. Yay. Dre Greenlaw was a freaking steal. Justin Skoll was actually with the team for quite a bit. Saw some starting time too. No longer with the squad, obviously. But they're probably the only miss they had here of significance was Jalen Hurd as they try to move him to tight end. And injuries really just kind of like hurt his career. Overall, though, this was a banger class. I would probably say the best class just simply because of pick 2 and pick 36. And to be fair, 148 might be the best linebacker prospect in this class. Or linebacker right now. You can make a case for Devin White, but we'll get to him when we get to him. Seattle Seahawks. At the time, I gave it a B-. Looking back, man, woof, it's rough. I'm going to give it a C. Could be a D, but DK Metcalf's so good. He really helps. I mean, we could go through it. LJ Collier, obviously, nothing's really worked out for that cat. Marquise Blair can't stay healthy. DK Metcalf, wonderful. Cody Barton, probably going to be a starter this year. We're going to see a lot more of him, though we have seen a lot of him in the past. Gary Jennings I don't think he makes it through the whole season. I know he ends up being on the Dolphins for a very short time. Phil Haynes isn't bad depth that they have there for the Seahawks. Ugo Amadi is he's not that good of a slot player. I'll just say that. Not that good of a slot player. They brought back Justin Coleman this year. Ben Burr-Kirven, injuries have really kind of hurt his career. Travis Homer, he's a good scat back, but Seattle, they're constantly bringing in running back, so it's like he kind of gets lost in the shuffle. So they got some things in this class. And they got a legit starter here in DK Metcalf, legit difference maker. And they might have a starter here, a linebacker long term potentially. We'll find out. So gave it a C. All right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Devin White. See, this is what I'm gonna say. Devin White's so hit or miss in coverage, but what he brings as a pass rusher, and even as a run stuffer, man, he kind of flies off would-be tackles. But with Drake Greenlaw, man, the dude just so solid in coverage. He might not be the difference maker that White is as a pass rusher, but I think he makes up for it just being solid in coverage. So Devin White, regardless, ends up being a solid pick. The guy really is a difference maker. Sean Murphy-Bunting, dude, he's been very good in the slot for the Buccaneers. Also plays a little bit on the outside. He's got versatility like that. Jameel Dean's my favorite pick in this class. I utterly love him. And now they're going to have to decide who are they going to pay, Murphy-Bunting or Jameel Dean. Jameel Dean should get his due. The dude is really good. Really, really good. Mike Edwards he's been used in that safety rotation, and he's actually been kind of a difference maker. He's kind of a ball hawk. Anthony Nelson's pretty good depth. Matt Gay no longer on the roster. Scotty Miller, the homeboy, he's on a very deep wide receiver core there. But what did I give it at the time? I gave it a B-. I'm giving that sucker an A. That's a darn good class. Ooh, excuse me. I got the hiccups. All right. Tennessee Titans. At the time, I gave this an A+. Really loved their class because they drafted a lot of players I really liked. Starting with Jeffrey Simmons. I was a huge fan of Simmons. A.J. Brown. I believe he was my wide receiver 1 in this class. And I just love A.J. Brown. Nate Davis, I thought he was pretty underrated, and he's not been bad. He's been an average starter for the Titans. Monty Hooker came into his own this year, now playing solely in the box and on the slot, and the dude was a monster. I was a big fan of his coming out, and looking back in retrospect, I gave it an A at the time. I'm giving it an A now. Jeffrey Simmons, big hit. A.J. Brown, you'd be like, he's not even on the roster no more. Okay, yeah, they used the 51st pick on him, and they got back a first and a third rounder. Shut your mouth. A.J. Brown's wonderful. He had 3,000-yard seasons for the Titans. Nate Davis has been an average, I would say an average starter. They're at right tackle. Monty Hooker now coming into his own. And, I mean, even David Long, he's a starter there. Went from special teamer to straight up starter. So, like, this is a very good class. And then the final team, the Washington football team at the time, now the Commanders. Get your comrags out. People are like, oh, quit making that joke. Listen, it's funny. I enjoy it, and it makes me like Washington more. Come on. Anywho, I gave it an A at the time. I liked that they didn't trade up for their quarterback. They sat on that pick, much like New England, and just let Dwayne Haskins fall to them, and he did. Unfortunately, things didn't work out, but they moved back up in the first round, get Montez Sweat, wonderful pick. In the third round, they get Terry McLaurin, who would easily, in a redraft, which will be out in a few days, is going to be a top 10 pick. Bryce Love, injuries, nothing, it just kind of ruined his career. Wes Martin's been depth. Cole Holcomb's actually probably been one of their more consistent linebackers there. Jimmy Moreland, not even on the roster. I think he just got cut by was it the Texans recently? I don't remember, but he wasn't on the squad, but he was one of my favorites in this class. I'm not gonna lie. This dude is small guy that's just super gritty there at corner. I was a big fan. Anyway, this class is an A, man. Come on. Sweat. McLaurin. And then they get solid depth. Even Kelvin Harmon, dude, is good depth at receiver. He's been banged up, but he's still on that roster. It's good depth. Like, straight up, I thought it was a good draft. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. And that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.